Hello and good day. Hey, welcome to the Super Good Camping Podcast. My name is Pamela.
I'm Tim.
And we are from supergoodcamping.com. We are here because we are on a mission to inspire other families to enjoy camping adventures such as we have with our kids. Camping in Ontario offers lots of outdoor activities, but one that stands out is fishing. With all of our lakes and rivers and various fish species, Ontario has lots of fun and exciting things for people to do if they're angling. In this episode, we'll just talk about, while you're camping in Ontario, some of the aspects of fishing. So we can look first at the bait and tackle selection. If you're choosing what bait or tackle you're using, you want to optimize your chances of success by choosing the right ones, but that depends a little bit on what you're trying to catch. Some of the popular options include worms and minnows, leeches, and artificial lures. You have to check BMZ, the bait management zone, for certain things that you're not allowed to use. So you may not be allowed to use minnows, or you may not be allowed to use leeches in certain areas. So the choice of the bait depends on the kind of fish you're trying to catch and the time of year. And it's best to try to carry a variety of options with you if you can. But don't ever dump your bait, because you're introducing potentially invasive species where you don't want to be introducing those.
Which is why we have the BMZ. I believe there are 4 of them, and they're specifically about not introducing invasive species to other waterways, maybe. So, okay, and once you've got your bait and tackle, I suppose we should probably throw in there that you want to have a fishing rod, reel on that fishing rod, hopefully with some line on it. There are many types, and I highly recommend doing a little research or watching some YouTube fisher types, which we'll get to, and a net. The way easier than trying to reach in and grab a hold of the slimy, slippery fish.
So with tackle, just pack a sort of assortment of things: hooks, sinkers, bobbers, fishing line. If your line breaks and you need to replace it, or the fish runs away with your line, allows you to experiment with different techniques and adapt to different fishing scenarios.
Yeah, and you can take worms, you can take Mr. Wiggly's, whatever. There's different times of year, different types of fish. There's going to be a bit of a learning curve. I've been doing it forever, and I still suck at it. So there you go.
So there's always room for improvement.
So then you want to try to find a good fishing spot. Man, it's probably pretty hard to find a lousy fishing spot here in Canada, but you will find ones that have been fished harder than other areas. Obviously, the more difficult it is to get to, the chances are there's more fish there.
The more remote?
Yep, more remote. Absolutely. Check your regulations first, though. There's what's it called? Fish Online. It's a government, so it's a bit clunky. It's put out by the, I want to say it's the MNR, Ministry of Natural Resources and Forests. I'm not positive, but it is government. You can check the local requirements. You can check your BMZs. You can also check to see what's stocked, how many of what you're allowed to take out of and the seasons for different types of fish, bass, pickerel, or walleye, which we'll get to in a minute as well. Muskie, pike, rainbow trouts, all that sort of jazz. You need to have, here in Ontario, you need to have a license, which there used to be a fishing license and a hunting license. I'm pretty sure it's a 1-card thing in my wallet now. I think it's just an outdoors card, and you renew it every year or every 3 years or what have you. Different levels. Again, quick Google search will take you to the right government site, which I'm not positive. YouTube and Instagram are huge resources certainly for finding fishing type things. Paddleheads is one of my favorite fishing channels, because that's pretty much what they do on YouTube. John and Aaron from Lost Lakes YouTube, killer fisher. Is fisher the right term? Fisherman, fisher people,
fisher person,
fisher. Alex and Jess from Tents and Timber they love fishing, and they're pretty darn good at it. Tunis and Britt.
Pete Park is a fisherman.
Pete Park, yeah. So, but they're also all a bunch of lunatics, and they have no problem going out when it's like an overcast day, despite the fact that there are no clouds, but there's so many bugs, because that's the best time to go out and try to get yourself some rainbow trout or what have you, or speckled brook. Oh man, I don't fish that early in the spring. I just don't. You can resource topographical maps. They will tell you different depths, which you can often figure out different water temperatures, because that affects what you're looking at. And then when you're out there, look for an overhanging tree that gives some shade and a bit of cover. Maybe there's a part of a trunk of an old tree in the water. Again, gives them a bit of cover. You want to fish around that without getting snagged in said tree. That's kind of what you're looking to do.
So you have the option of fishing from your boat or your canoe, and you have the option of fishing from shore. Fishing from a canoe lets you get a bit more access potentially to some remote spots where the fish might be hiding, and explore more areas. Ensure your canoe is stable, equipped with rod holders if you want to keep your gear secure. Opt for lightweight, versatile fishing rods and reels that won't hinder your maneuverability when you're in your canoe. When you're casting, try to aim for areas, as Tim said, near vegetation drop-offs, areas where there might be a submerged shelter that the fish might be under.
Yeah, submerged islands. What was the one? We occasionally go up to a cottage outside of Gravenhurst, and if you go into a particular bay, there's a trunk of an ancient tree that comes up out of, not far off the edge of an island, but it comes up out of the water. And I have hooked a gigantic bass and got it up to the side of the boat, but it was massive. And it's that sort of thing, like where there's some, I don't know, underground structures, I guess, or not underground, sorry, underwater structures for fish to sort of lurk. It gives them some protection.
So fishing from shore can be fun too. Certainly we have experience with that too with the kids up at the cottage, and you're catching sunfish and like little non-keeper fish, things that are just kind of fun to catch and then throw them back in. It's equally rewarding. You can just, when you're fishing from shore, look for areas where fish are maybe active. So you might see some jumping, some ripples in the water. You might see some bugs flying over the water, and then you see a ripple in the water, just indicating that the fish are jumping to get the bugs. Casting near rocky areas, docks, fallen trees, submerged vegetation increases your chances of catching something, because that's where they like to hide. And just be mindful of other campers. Try to leave no trace. Clean up your fishing area after yourself. Don't leave fishing wire and hooks and stuff lying around.
Yeah, and don't hook your fishing partner either.
Yeah, well, that was when we took the kids first fishing. It's like, look out! he's casting.
I think Thomas hooked me, and we had to go into the hospital and get it removed. I couldn't push it through. I'm a pansy bedwetter. So time of day also affects fishing or the viability of potentially catching something. Depends on the species, but generally, early in the morning, like we get up. Now it's me, although occasionally I manage to drag a kid out with me. Early, like you're talking dawn and dusk are your good ones. They're golden hours. It depends, it changes a little bit with weather conditions, temperatures. As waters in the spring, waters are cool, so they're up much closer to the surface into warmer water. Plus, all the bugs are out there, so that's attracting them to the surface. As you move throughout the summer, they tend to go a little deeper. Maybe in the morning they're up a little higher in the water, a little shallower, and then they move back down deeper, cooler. So look for that's where your topographical maps come into play, because you can look for drop-offs or just deeper areas as they gradually slope away. So
some of the more popular species of fish to catch in Ontario are walleye, northern pike, smallmouth bass, and lake trout. It's important to be aware of when you're consuming fish, whether it's safe to eat or whether it's not safe to eat. And just you want to check with local authorities, make sure whether you're legitimately allowed to be catching certain species at certain times of year, and whether they're safe to eat because they may have contaminants like mercury, PCB, dioxin. Generally, you're trying to consume smaller and younger fish because they will have accumulated less of those contaminants over their lifespan. And there is a good resource for that. This is a book that Tim has, which is called The Guide to Eating Ontario Sport Fish. And you can actually obtain that from the
Ministry of the Environment.
Ministry of the Environment, and online, ontario.ca/fish guide. So you can, if you want to look things up online, then that's the best place to try to find out that information for Ontario.
Yeah, and I think actually it was a Travel Ontario, the kiosks you see as you're going up the 400 highway or whatever.
Information booths.
That's the ones. I'm pretty sure that's where I got the book from originally.
Cool.
So that's a good place to go.
And just general guidelines around fish consumption. Just follow, again, advisories. Make sure that the fish that you are consuming, like Lake Ontario and the Great Lakes generally, are very heavily polluted. You don't really want to be consuming fish out of those bodies of water. And there are limitations that if people are choosing to consume those fish, of how often they should be consuming fish. I think it's less than 8 meals a week. Less than 8 meals a month of fish that are caught in the Great Lakes, but I honestly, I don't think I would.
And
really
younger and smaller, particularly here in Lake Ontario. And I can't speak to all the other Great Lakes, but I even remember, even back as a kid, anything. So salmon, perfect example. Lake Ontario salmon, gigantic ones, like 20 something pounds, 22 pounds, maybe. I don't know what the record is, maybe 25 pounds, something like that. But probably averaging something in a 15, 18 pounds. And you even wouldn't want to go average. You'd want to kind of go lean on the small side, because it meant they were younger and less likely to have, they would have a smaller volume and a smaller percentage of mercury in them. Although eating anything with mercury in it, maybe just don't. Catch and release.
Clean and cook your fish properly, because fish can be carriers of things like bad bacteria you don't want and or parasites. So make sure that they do reach an internal temperature of at least 145 degrees Fahrenheit or 63 degrees Celsius, so you're eliminating any potential parasites or bacteria.
Yeah, and being the tree huggers that we are, so eco-friendly and sustainable fishing. Think about things like, for starters, by doing that, you're preserving the fish populations. Yes, there's lots of stocking going on, but it's a really popular pastime. Not just for those of us here in Ontario or here in Canada, but the people that fly in, and we have lodges that are dedicated entirely to fishing, guided. It's a big industry here because we have so much of the world's fresh water. We don't want to fish them out, right? So if you're doing things like, for starters, don't break the rules. There's some. I was just going to use a bad word. There was a person that was caught with something like 40 pickerel, walleye, whatever term you want to use, and if you go to the paddleheads, those guys will tell you how that goes. I think he was caught with, it was crazy. It was like 40 walleye. Like I'm at a loss. You can't get a permit for that much.
You have to know that that's more than you're allowed.
That's a dick move for starters. And how are we supposed to? What about the next guy that wants to fly in and do some fishing? Like how?
You can't eat that much. Come on.
So disappointing. So catch limits and size restrictions. Just follow the rules, okay? Catch and release when you can. Tunis from Mr. Freak of Nature is great at knowing what sustainably, what's a good size to keep, fits the regulations, and like put it out to breed for another day or to be caught by somebody else on another day for fun as opposed to for food. That one's been around for a while. That's a strong fish. It's a strong bloodline. Let him or her get out there and and make some more
species,
babies. Yep. Given the option, try not to use lead-based sinkers. That seems pretty straightforward. Lead, bad. Contaminations, all right? And when your spool turns into a rat nest or whatever with your fishing line, don't chuck it over the side of the boat. Don't leave it on your campsite. Take it home with you. Dispose of it properly. We see so many stories of, and not just in tiny waters like we have here in Ontario, but in the sea where, whatever, a dolphin, a whale, a seal, they get all wrapped up in fishing line that's been discarded. Don't be one of those people. How's that?
So that's it for us for today about fishing while you're camping in Ontario. It's a great opportunity to connect with nature. You're out there in your boat anyway, and you get the thrill of catching something. You get that dopamine rush because you caught something, but you can get that dopamine rush and let the fish go and let it propagate the species and still have that fun. So follow the local regulations, make sure you take the right gear, and try to be adopting sustainable fishing practices so you and future generations can enjoy fishing. That's it for us for today. We will talk to you again soon. I'm Pamela.
I'm Tim.
And we are from supergoodcamping.com. Please do reach out to us on all the social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and we have a YouTube channel. We would love more subscribers on that channel. And please do email us. We would love to hear from you. Our email address is hi@supergoodcamping.com. That's hi@supergoodcamping.com. And we'll talk to you again soon. Bye.
Bye.